Thomas Kiander, lieutenant at OCS. We went to Newport and went aboard destroyers. Well, I actually went aboard an amphibious assault ship, and I was in the engineering department and took over as electrical officer. So I handled all the communications and the electricity aboard ship, and my men were electricians, ETs, and they maintained all of those. In the meantime, as a engineering officer, I assumed responsibilities in that department, including watch duties, and then eventually I went to amphibious training school, and then I also went to damage control school. So I was being groomed. You had two career kind of lines of responsibility. You were a deck officer, so you'd stand bridge watches and you'd supervise boats and guns and tying the ship and anchoring above, or you would be down in the engineering department, and you would be qualified because you would have what they call a path towards being engineering watch officer and then engineering watch officer underway. So that meant you had full responsibility as the engineering department head, all things concerned with the power plant, with electrical, damage control, anything had to do with machinery that was handled by the engineering department. So I would be trained and qualified, signed off to be engineering watch officer underway. So that meant that in theory, like the officer of the deck, you're in charge of all things there. Ultimately, it came back to the chief engineer, but as the engineering watch officer and in that department, I would be responsible and had to be knowledgeable. I took correspondence courses to get up to speed in engineering, so that was my thrust, and that was the way I went. So, and as a career path as well, because I was in the reserves and I was on a large surface combatant reserve unit. So if you're engineering officer qualified and signed off, theoretically, with your rank increase, being in the reserves, you could be an engineering department head on an aircraft carrier, a conventional aircraft. You'd have to go to nuclear power school to be aboard a nuclear boat. But that's some pretty heavy lifting for a young guy to get lined up to have a career there. So that was a path that they assigned us to, one or the other, deck or engineering. And when we did operations, engineering, I went aboard LCM, which is Landing Craft Mike, and that was tasked to help and have our Papa boats or any of our other boats and equipment helped or rescued, and we would go and tow them off the beach if they were in trouble, or help men back aboard our boat if their boat was sinking. So that was the career path, and that's what I did.